"You're in a trap. Don't move." The words burned into my hand before I even looked up. The waiter's eyes flicked to the doorway, then back at me. Wide, frantic, trembling. Marcus laughed, but it sounded hollow, like it belonged to someone else. Every smile was a mask. Every glance, a threat. The air was thick, charged, alive with danger. A gloved hand brushed the table edge. A shadow flickered at the bar. Candlelight caught a metallic glint. Brief, but enough. Nothing in this room was what it seemed. One wrong move, and it wouldn't just be me at risk. If you're loving this story, hit subscribe, give it a like, and drop a comment. I want to hear what you'd do. I stepped into the dining room like I'd done 100 times before, heels clicking on the marble, the soft hum of the city outside barely reaching us. But tonight felt off. A fork scraped too loudly on a plate at a neighboring table, making my stomach flip. The waiter's eyes lingered a second too long, and Marcus, my Marcus, was smiling that same effortless grin he flashed at every gala, every camera, every charity event. Yet something in the air told me this smile wasn't for me. Then it landed in my hand. A folded slip of paper, light, almost weightless. No one else noticed, just me. The words, tiny and precise, burned into my brain before I even unfolded it. "You're in a trap. Don't move." I glanced at the waiter. His hand trembled ever so slightly as he adjusted a wine glass. Someone called out to him from across the room, and he froze, just for a heartbeat, like a predator caught mid-step. My pulse jumped. Was it a joke? Or was he really risking everything to warn me? Marcus laughed again, that polished sound meant to charm everyone in the room, but now it grated against my nerves. Loud, performative, calculated. I scanned the restaurant. Everything sparkled. Chandeliers, polished silver, crystal glasses. But perfection never feels like this. Not when your gut screams danger. I wanted to slide the note into my clutch, pretend I hadn't read it. But curiosity, maybe stupidity, pulled me to read further. The words hinted at insider details only someone in our world could know. Someone watching, someone waiting. The waiter moved down the line of tables, calm but careful, almost like he could be caught at any second. Each step made me lean forward, my senses straining. Then I saw him. Not directly, only in the warped reflection of a silver wine bucket. A man leaning at the bar, watching, smiling, not warmly, not politely, like he already knew how this would end. When our eyes met for just a second, he tilted his head, almost mocking me. My fingers tightened around the note. The waiter was gone. And just like that, I realized the game hadn't just begun. I was already behind. The note burned in my palm. I didn't even open it yet. My eyes flicked around the dining room. The waiter had vanished. One second he was there, adjusting a wine glass. The next, gone. My stomach churned. Something in the room was moving in rhythm I couldn't read. I unfolded the note carefully. 4 lines, each a jab at reality. Marcus isn't who you think. Don't trust the guards. Exit left if the chandelier swings. My fingers trembled. I didn't have time to think. It was all instinct now. A clatter rang out. A glass slid off a nearby table. Someone caught it just before it hit the floor, but the movement jerked me upright. My pulse spiked. This room, perfect on the surface, was already pressing back. I tried to track everything at once. Exits, guards, tables, the chandelier above. My eyes followed the chain above the left door. It lined up exactly with the nearest server's path. Staff positions, waiter movements, even the spacing of chairs. It all formed a silent pattern. The note wasn't just words. It was a map I had to read in real time. A guard stepped closer. Too deliberate, too precise. My chest tightened. That slow, measured step hit me like a punch. He wasn't casual. He was waiting for a signal, watching me. Every inch closer forced my mind to split, move, stay, trust, doubt. The waiter appeared at the far end of the room, tray in hand, eyes scanning. Someone shouted at him from across the floor. He froze, almost spilling a glass. Every second he risked exposure made me hold my breath harder. Then, the chandelier creaked. My gaze shot up. A tiny swing, timing aligned. My fingers gripped the note tighter, pulse hammering. I had to anticipate. Act survive. And then, something impossible. A breath brushed my ear, warm, close, personal. I spun. No one. Marcus still smiling, oblivious, dazzling in the light. My heart raced. The room was calm, yet a voice had spoken as if inside my skull. Move. And it's over. I froze, vision snapping between the left exit, the slow-moving guard, and the waiter disappearing into shadows. Every detail, every pattern, every breath became a test. I realized I wasn't just observing the trap. I was inside it. Marcus laughed again, leaning back like he owned every eye in the room. Polished, untouchable, the kind of billionaire everyone adored in magazines. But my stomach clenched. That laugh didn't reach his eyes. It flicked over them like a shadow, gone before returning to perfect charm. I tracked the guard's slow steps again, too deliberate, too focused. My chest tightened. Marcus had trusted him, or thought he had. Maybe the guard wasn't part of the trap. Maybe he was its key. A waiter brushed past, almost colliding with my shoulder. His hand trembled on the tray. Someone upstairs clicked a shutter. Camera? Security? My pulse jumped. Marcus reached for my hand, a casual gesture meant to soothe, but I flinched. His touch should have been comforting. Instead, it felt like a warning. I folded the note back into my clutch. 4 simple lines. Marcus isn't who you think. Don't trust the guards. Exit left if the chandelier swings. The words weren't instructions. They were a dare, and I was about to take it. The chandelier above the left exit creaked, swimming slightly. My heartbeat spiked. I deliberately shifted my chair and inched toward the left door. My fingers flexed on the table, testing Marcus. His hand tightened, barely, but enough. His gaze flicked ever so slightly. He noticed, or maybe he didn't. Either way, I had a reaction. A guard stepped closer, too precise, waiting for a signal. I caught Marcus watching the guard, still smiling, still confident. His blind spot was me. His ego made us assume I'd remain passive, that I would watch, hesitate, freeze. I let the movement linger. The waiter reappeared at the far end, eyes flicking nervously, tray trembling. Someone called out. He froze, risking exposure. My pulse hammered. Every second, every minor test, the guard, the chandelier, the waiter, was another thread I could pull. I glanced at Marcus again. Perfect posture, perfect grin. But his eyes betrayed nothing, and that was exactly the problem. The chandelier creaked again. I shifted slightly, just a hair, toward the exit. Marcus's hand tightened again. Not enough to stop me, but enough that I realized I had forced a change. The trap wasn't just around me, it was inside me. And for the first time, I had made the first move. The waiter appeared again at the far end of the dining room, tray in hand, head down, eyes scanning. I watched him freeze as a gust called out, nearly dropping a glass. Sweat beaded at his hairline. My chest tightened. He was risking everything for me. But then, something shifted. The tray slipped. Just slightly, a crystal glass teetered on the edge. My stomach lurched, and then his hand shot out, fast, precise. He caught the glass before it hit the floor. Not panic, not hesitation. Precision, controlled reflex, tactical awareness. My heart jumped. No waiter moved like that. He glanced at me briefly, too deliberately to be casual. A coded signal? A silent message? I didn't know. But in that instant, the entire dynamic changed. He wasn't just nervous, he was trained. The trap wasn't just around me. It had someone in it capable of fighting it from the inside. The manager's eyes swept the room. Too casual, too quick. He didn't notice the minor slip. No one did. Only me. And now I had proof. This wasn't random. There was strategy here, skill, preparation. I pressed my fingers against the note in my clutch. My mind raced. My options shifted. The waiter wasn't just a messenger. I could signal him, follow him, or trust him with what I knew. The game just got bigger, and my choices just became riskier. A subtle step, almost imperceptible, and he moved again. Tray steady, eyes alert, scanning. Another guard shifted across the floor. I realized the stakes had climbed. Every breath, every gesture, every glance could trigger disaster or salvation. I leaned slightly, just enough to signal him without being obvious. Our eyes met briefly. Something passed between us, a silent acknowledgement. He could handle danger. I could handle him. The chandelier above the left exit creaked. My pulse spiked. I tucked the note more securely in my clutch. My fingers tightened. I was no longer just observing. I understood now. The waiter wasn't just part of the trap. He was its hidden lever. And if I acted carefully, he could become my secret weapon. One wrong move, though, and everything in the room, including him, could collapse. The chandelier above me swayed again. A faint creak echoed through the polished hall, louder than it had any right to be. My eyes tracked its chains, back to the left exit. Every inch of that room suddenly felt like a wire stretched tight, ready to snap. Eileen slapped me forward, scanning the tables. Servers moved with clockwork precision, but their timing, it wasn't natural. One carried a glass across my path, almost grazing my elbow, eyes flicking briefly to a shadow I couldn't see. Another set down a dish, pausing just long enough to make me flinch. This wasn't service, this was orchestration. The waiter reappeared at the far end, tray steady now, eyes sharp. I thought I saw him make a subtle hand signal, perhaps to someone else in the room. My pulse raced. The room wasn't just a place to sit and dine. It was a cage. Every object, every person, every polished surface could work against me. A guard shifted, blocking the path to the left exit. Not by accident. My chest tightened. If I moved, he would notice. If I froze, the chandelier would swing. I pressed my fingers against the note in my clutch. Exit left if the chandelier swings. I forced myself to memorize every detail. The chain above the door, the table placement, the distance to the bar. Every step I might take would be measured, predicted, controlled. Suddenly, a glass slid from a nearby table. Time slowed. I flinched. The waiter's hand shot out, fingers grazing the base, steadying it before it crashed. Precision. Training. I could rely on him, but only if I made the next move count. I forced a tiny shift in my chair, testing the guard's reaction. He didn't flinch. His eyes remained locked on me. The room itself was testing me, pushing me, daring me to make a mistake. Marcus leaned back, smiling, oblivious, or so I told myself. But the way he angled his body, the slight tension in his shoulders, hinted he might notice more than he let on. The chandelier creaked again. The left exit glinted in the dim light. My hand tightened on the note. I had a choice. Trust the pattern, trust the waiter, trust myself, or do nothing and risk being trapped entirely. And then a tray slipped, clattered to the floor. Silverware rolled like dice across the marble. Every eye in the room flicked momentarily to the noise. I caught the waiter's glance. He nodded slightly, just enough to tell me we were aligned. I realized the room wasn't just a place, it was a weapon, and I was in the line of fire. The chandelier creaked above the left exit again, chains swaying like a pendulum, counting down my heartbeat. My pulse was deafening, every muscle tensed. The room wasn't just polished marble and sparkling glass anymore. It was a trap, and I was standing dead center. I glanced at the waiter. He was still there, eyes sharp, tray steady, every move measured. But even he had limits. One wrong step and we were both exposed. Marcus's hand rested lightly on the table, a picture of casual charm, smiling, calm. But I couldn't trust that smile, not tonight. His blind confidence might be a shield, or a weapon pointed right at me. I pressed my fingers against the note in my clutch. Exit left if the chandelier swings. But the swing had started. If I moved now, would I survive the guard blocking the path? Or was the chandelier already rigged to collapse in seconds? I weighed my options. 1, I could trust Marcus, risk his awareness, hope his ego didn't betray me. 2, I could signal the waiter, risk exposing him and losing my lifeline. 3, I could act alone, testing my instincts against everything I'd observed. A glass slid from a table across the room. I flinched. Reflexively, I reached a hand toward the waiter, fingers twitching, just a hint of a signal. His eyes flicked to mine. He understood. But signaling carried its own risk. Every heartbeat stretched longer. The guard stepped closer, too precise, too deliberate. My stomach sank. One wrong move and he'd notice. Marcus's eyes flicked momentarily toward me. Did he see my hesitation? Or was he focused on the waiter? I forced a breath, weighing a split second that felt like eternity. My fingers slid over the clutch. The note, the exit, the chandelier, the pattern of staff movements. Everything pointed in one direction, but the wrong decision could cost more than just me. I shifted slightly, just enough to test. I had set the first domino in motion. And then, another whisper, soft, calm, behind me. Not Marcus, not a server, just a voice brushing my ear. Choose. or it ends. My pulse rattled through my chest. My options narrowed. My agency was real, but deadly. One decision now, and the room, the waiter, Marcus, everyone in it, would respond. I was trapped, yes, but I was also deciding who survived the first move. Marcus sipped his wine, smile perfect, polished. But tonight, I wasn't watching the grin. I was watching his eyes, the tiny flick of a finger against the table, the way he angled his head when someone entered. Calculating, anticipating, controlling, not charming. The note pulsed in my clutch. Marcus isn't who you think. My pulse raced as I tried to reconcile the public Marcus, the golden boy billionaire, with the man in front of me. There was a darkness beneath the perfection, a precision in every move, a strategy in every glance. A guard shifted near the left exit. My stomach tightened. Marcus's eyes flicked toward him. For a heartbeat, I thought he was merely observing. But then, he raised a subtle hand, just a micro-motion, and the guard adjusted his stance. Before the chandelier even swayed, before the waiter made his move, the guard was already positioned perfectly. My chest went cold. Not coincidence. Coordination. Marcus hadn't just walked into the trap, he had helped build it. The waiter at the far end caught my eye, his brief nod confirming what my gut screamed. Marcus's charm, his calm demeanor, his flawless timing, it wasn't instinct, it was orchestration. He wasn't just in the room, he owned the room. I pressed my fingers to the note. My first choice, my tiny shift toward the left exit, felt suddenly exposed. Every micro move I had made, every test of him or the waiter, had been observed, calculated, cataloged. The stakes weren't just survival anymore. They were strategic exposure. The chandelier creaked above the left exit. A guard subtly adjusted his stance, mirroring Marcus's earlier micro-signal. My mind raced. The waiter moved, careful, precise, but now his role felt secondary. Marcus had the patterns, the contingencies, the control. I realized with a jolt that the trap wasn't external alone. It was personal. Every step, every glance, every reaction I'd made was already inside Marcus's calculation. And then, the damning confirmation. Marcus lifted his glass, and the guard moved before the motion even completed. Perfectly synchronized. My blood ran cold. Whatever this trap was, Marcus hadn't walked into it. He had designed it. The chandelier swayed above the left exit. Each chain creaked like a warning. My pulse throbbed in rhythm with it. Every detail of the room felt sharper now. The polished marble, the precise choreography of staff and guards. And Marcus? Marcus had just revealed the truth. He wasn't just present, he was controlling. I pressed my fingers to the note, trying to steady myself. My tiny shift toward the exit, the signal to the waiter, every subtle test I'd made, it all felt exposed. But there was no time to dwell. Danger was moving toward me. A guard stepped closer, eyes locked on me. Too deliberate, too cold. Then, a flick of Marcus's hand, a subtle tilt of his head, and the guard froze mid-step, adjusted perfectly. Not observation, coordination. My chest went cold. Marcus hadn't walked into the trap. He had built part of it. The waiter's hand twitched nervously, almost missing a silver tray. But before he could correct it, another staff member, a server I hadn't noticed, stepped deliberately to block a side aisle. My pulse spiked. The trap had layers I hadn't accounted for. Even my supposed ally could misstep. Marcus leaned forward, smiling polished, predatory. His gaze wasn't on the room, it was on me. Every subtle gesture, every measured movement, every micro-reaction had been cataloged. I forced a shift in my chair, testing the guard again. He reacted instantly. I caught the waiter's eye, he understood. But the second staff member had moved first, unprompted. A subtle betrayal, but real. The room wasn't just a weapon. Marcus wasn't just a predator. Everyone here had become part of the trap. The chandelier creaked again, chains swayed. My fingers tightened on the note. And then Marcus whispered, calm and deadly, "Choices have consequences, Evelyn. Pick carefully. One wrong step now, and the fallout wouldn't just hit me, it would cascade through everyone in this room." I froze, trapped between the chandelier, the guards, the subtle betrayals, and the calculated predator sitting across from me. The game had shifted, the pieces were moving, and I realized survival was no longer just about me. It was about navigating all of them. The chandelier swung again, chains groaning under their own weight. My pulse roared in my ears. Every polished surface, every careful step of the guards, every glint of silverware wasn't just decoration, it was a countdown. I couldn't wait any longer. I shifted slightly, nudging the chair closer to the left exit. The guard reacted instantly. Good. That confirmed his line of sight. The secondary staff member, the one who had unexpectedly moved in Module 8, froze. Excellent. Their reactions were my variables. I just had to manipulate them right. The waiter caught my eye, subtle nod, hand twitching as if asking permission. I gave it. A fraction of a blink, the tiniest shift. He understood, but even as he prepared to act, my mind calculated. Could Marcus notice too soon? Could one misstep turn my ally into another threat? Marcus smiled across the table, calm, predatory, as though nothing in the room could touch him. But now, he had a line to test. I pressed a finger lightly against the edge of my clutch, sending the note sliding just enough to hint I knew the rules. A glass slipped from a nearby table. Reflexively, the waiter's hand shot out, but I didn't let him fully recover. The small motion forced the guard near the left exit to shift just slightly. Marcus's eyes flicked, just a microsecond. Perfect. I'd created a reaction, tested his blind spots. The chandelier creaked, the polished floor gleamed, the room waited. I forced a deep breath. Then I made a bold move. My chair scraped slightly, deliberate, inching toward the exit. The guard froze. The secondary staff member hesitated. The waiter shifted fluidly, ready to cover me. Marcus's gaze sharpened. That flicker, just a hint of tension, told me something vital. He noticed. He knew I was probing, but he hadn't predicted the exact timing. My fingers tightened around the note. This was it. The first real counter. One move, perfectly timed, and I had forced a small, measurable shift in the room's deadly balance. And then, a shadow crossed the chandelier's light. The swing aligned perfectly with the exit path. A guard's foot stepped a fraction too early. Marcus leaned forward, whispering something I couldn't hear. My breath caught. The room had reacted. The trap had shifted. And I knew what I did next would decide who lived and who didn't. The chandelier swayed violently, chains rattling like a countdown. My pulse was a drum in my ears. Every polished surface, every shadowed corner, every glint of silverware screamed danger. The room wasn't just a cage anymore, it was a war zone. I shifted deliberately toward the left exit. The guard froze, as predicted. The secondary staff member mirrored his stance. The waiter moved fluidly, tray balanced, eyes locked on mine. My heart hammered. Every micro movement counted. Marcus's smile had vanished. The predator I'd glimpsed before was fully awake now. He leaned forward, hand brushing the table, whispering words I couldn't hear, but his eyes screamed calculation, control. He knew my moves. He had planned them, or so he thought. I pressed the note firmly in my clutch. One decision could tip everything. I inhaled, testing the room. The swing of the chandelier aligned perfectly with my path. Timing was critical. I made my move. My chair scraped deliberately, inching toward the exit. The guard reacted, but the waiter was faster, sliding between us, deflecting the subtle threat. Marcus's eyes flicked. That slight micro-expression told me everything. I had forced a reaction I hadn't anticipated. Suddenly, the chandelier swung sharply. The guard stumbled, caught by instinct. The secondary staff member froze. Marcus's breath hitched, not with fear, but calculation. He hadn't predicted the waiter's timing, nor the boldness of my move. I bolted. Every step measured, every glance scanned. The exit gleamed ahead. The waiter mirrored my movement, covering my blind spots. Marcus followed, silent but lethal, calculating his own counter. And then it happened. A final twist I hadn't seen coming. A trap within the trap, a false exit, a mirrored doorway designed to mislead. My stomach dropped. But the waiter, trained, aware, whispered a single word, guiding me through the correct path. I crossed the threshold. The chandelier swung harmlessly behind me. Guards and staff scrambled, caught in the precise chaos my move had triggered. Marcus's gaze followed me, calculating, impressed, dangerous. He hadn't lost, but I had survived. I leaned against the wall outside, clutching the note, chest heaving. The room was silent now, but the lesson was clear. The trap had layers, and survival demanded strategy, instinct, and allies you could barely trust. The waiter's eyes met mine one last time. No words were needed. The game was far from over.